So today we're going to review multiplying radicals. One of the things that we need to remember before we even start this problem is that we need to remember that when we take square root, something like the square root of 36, we're looking to rewrite it as 6 times 6. And 6 times 6 can be written as 6 squared. And we remember this is a square root. There's an invisible 2 there. And we know that the square root is going to cancel with the square. They are inverses of each other. And when they cancel that out, they're left with 6. So when we see the square root of 36, we know that 6, it equals 6. So when we see the square root of 3 times the square root of 3, we don't want to put them underneath the same house and make it 9 or make it, rad 3 squared. We can automatically just look and know, hey, whenever I multiply a radical times itself, it's going to come out of the house. We know that it'll be squared and that square will cancel the square root. So we like that. So if we see something like the square root of 108 times the square root of 108, we don't want to multiply those big numbers. We know that we're just going to get 108 because that's going to be 108 squared. The square and the square root cancel. Good, so that's where our thinking is. When we get radicals that are unlike, we don't want to write rad 60 and then break it down. It's already broken down. We're looking to break these down and we're looking for a common factor. What number goes into 6 and what number goes into 10? All right, so I'm going to break this into rad 2, rad 3 times rad 2, rad 5. And I found a common factor. We see that both have rad 2, rad 2. So when we multiply rad 2 times rad 2, we know the 2 is going to come out. Now we're left with rad 3 and rad 5. So that's going to multiply under the same house, and we get rad 15. So that would be the answer. Rad 15 can't be reduced because there's no perfect square as a factor. Let's try this one. You try this one. Pause the video. Try it. Make sure you show your steps and then come up with the answer. And when you're ready to see the answer, unpause it. So we see here we saw the two factors. We broke 10 into rad 5, rad 2 because I knew that we could cancel the rad 5s. Rad 5 times rad 5 gives me 5 on the outside, and we have a rad 2 left on the inside. Good. The next problem, now we start having coefficients in front of these radicals. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to multiply the outsides with the outsides. We have 4 on the outside, we have negative 4 on the outside, so that's going to make negative 16. And then we have rad 3 and rad 15. Rad 15, I'm going to break into rad 3, rad 5. Because I see that I'm going to have two common radicals, which will pop out to the outside. Rad 5 will stay in the house, and then negative 16 times 3 is not on my memorized numbers, 48. So we get negative 48 rad 5. Let's look at another one. Again, we want to combine those coefficients first. The numbers on the outside of the house, 2 times 3 makes 6. Now we're looking at the radicals, and we're seeing if we can find a common factor. Rad 2 I'm going to leave as rad 2. Rad 10 I'm going to break into rad 2, rad 5. And now I see that my rad 2's can pop out. So 6 times 2, rad 5, gives me 12 rad 5. You try this one. We have negative 5 times rad 12 times negative 2 times rad 12. And pause the video, show your work, show your steps, and then when you're ready, repause or unpause the video. Wow, too fast. So we have the coefficients. Negative 5 times negative 2 is 10. And here, I like this one. We have identical radicals, so that'll automatically pop out. We don't have to break it down into factors. They're identical, so we know that that's going to equal 12, and then we get 120. Let's throw a couple variables into these now. So when we have variables, we're still going to tackle it. We're looking for things squared or things identical. So I've got two things. I'm going to tackle the coefficient of the variables, and then I'm going to tackle the variables. So in my mind's eye, I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to break up these coefficients and see if I can find a common factor in there. So I'm going to break rad 6 into rad 2, rad 3. I'm going to look at rad 8. I'm going to break it into rad 2, rad 4. And then m squared I'm going to keep because that's a perfect square. And then m to the third, I could break that into m squared. I could match it up with the m squared. There's a lot of different ways of doing that one. But I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm going to leave that as m squared. I'm going to make this m squared times rad m. So now let's start matching. And this is where your organization and keeping track of things. Rad 2 times rad 2 is going to give me 2. Rad 3, I can't match it up with anything. I have m squared, which is going to give me m. I have the square root of 4, which is 2. I have another m squared, which will give me another m. And then I have rad m. So rad m and rad 3 stay in the house. So I have to rad 3 and rad m. So if we start simplifying the things on the outside, 2 times 2 is 4, m times m is m squared, and then we're going to put the things inside the house together. So we're left with 4m squared, rad 3m. That's a good one. Woo. Let's look at the next one. Remember, we're going to separate those, and now I'm going to break in these coefficients. I'm going to make that rad 5, rad 2. I'm going to make rad 15, rad 5, rad 3. And hopefully we see, hey, those are identical. So I know what that's going to come out. So I know that that's going to come out of the house. These match up. So I'm left with 5. The m cubed are identical. So the m cubed comes out. And then I have leftovers of rad 2 and rad 3, which produce rad 6. Let's look at the last one. We have rad 3n squared times rad 12n. Pause the video, work on that one, and then when you're ready to check the answer, unpause it. So here we have, broke them up, rad 3, rad n squared, rad 12 we can break up into rad 3, rad 4, and then we have rad n by itself in the house. So rad 3's will match, so it comes out. The n squared comes out as n, the rad 4 becomes 2, and then we have our leftover radical of rad n. So 3 times n times 2 gives us 6n rad n. If you have questions, please feel free to go to the office hours or email me, and good luck with this. And don't forget to complete the assignment and the exit sheet.